For decades, manifestation has been romanticized as a mental or emotional game. Visualize enough, stay positive, feel the vibration of what you desire. These ideas have swept through self-help aisles and spiritual corners of the internet with seductive simplicity. And yet, how many people have found themselves frustrated, repeating affirmations like mantras, scripting desires into journals, holding visions of abundance, only to return to the same patterns, the same blocks, the same feeling of being stuck? The truth is, you can't manifest abundance from a nervous system wired for survival. You can't attract safety if your body doesn't feel safe. You can't welcome overflow if your internal world is still running on scarcity and fear. This is the uncomfortable truth many spiritual teachers overlook, not out of ill intent, but often out of unawareness. Manifestation is not just about mindset, it's about regulation. Your nervous system, comprised of the sympathetic and parasympathetic branches, was designed to keep you alive, not to help you thrive. When it perceives danger, whether physical or emotional, real or imagined, it kicks into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And the challenge is this: for many of us, these states became our baseline. We live in bodies that are constantly bracing for impact, hypervigilant, tense, on edge. Even in moments of calm, we don't feel calm. We're rehearsing danger, we're scanning for rejection, we're managing, not manifesting. It's no surprise then that the language of manifestation often feels inaccessible. Just believe, just let go, just raise your frequency. But if your nervous system is holding on for dear life because it never felt safe as a child, or because trauma still lives in your cells, these instructions aren't just unhelpful. They're invalidating. Because how can you let go when your body is gripping for control? How can you raise your vibration when your energy is trapped in a loop of fight or freeze? Healing your nervous system is not a detour on the path to manifestation. It is the path. It is the foundational work required to create a life that feels good, not only on a vision board, but in your bones. Because your reality doesn't respond to your thoughts alone, it responds to your coherence, to your embodiment, to the frequency you hold when no one is watching. So what does it actually mean to heal your nervous system? How does that healing unlock the reality you've been reaching for? That's what we'll explore in the journey ahead. But first, you must understand this: you are not broken. If you've struggled to manifest what you know in your heart you deserve, it's not because you're doing it wrong. It's because you've been trying to build on a foundation that never felt safe enough to receive. And that's about to change. Before we go deeper into the energetic mechanics of manifestation, we need to start with compassion for yourself, and especially for your body. Many of us are walking around inside a nervous system that has been overworked, undersupported, and misunderstood for years, sometimes decades. And yet, it has kept you alive. It has done exactly what it was designed to do: protect you, guard you, keep you functioning in the face of emotional and physical chaos. That's not dysfunction, that's brilliance. The reason this is so important to grasp is because most people begin the healing journey by making themselves wrong. Why can't I relax? Why do I sabotage the good things? Why can't I just be more positive? But when you understand that your body is simply responding to signals of safety or danger, everything changes. You begin to see your self-sabotage not as a flaw, but as a form of self-protection. Your resistance isn't laziness, it's legacy. Your blocks aren't failure, they're feedback. The nervous system is constantly scanning for cues of safety or threat. This process, known as neuroception, happens below conscious awareness. It picks up on subtle shifts in tone, facial expression, posture, environment. If it senses danger, it overrides your logical goals. You may want to step into your dream life, but if your nervous system doesn't trust that it's safe to receive love, money, attention, or joy, it will subtly and powerfully resist those things. Not because you don't want them, but because somewhere in your body, safety is still synonymous with struggle. This is why affirmations, visualizations, and positive thinking can only go so far. They operate on the level of the mind, but your nervous system is deeper than thought. It's in your fascia, your breath, your gut, your heartbeat. And if you don't feel safe in your body, no amount of positive thinking will convince you to relax into abundance. Your body will always win. It will always pull you back into the familiar patterns that feel like safety even if they're suffocating. The nervous system doesn't respond to language. It responds to experience, to sensation, to consistency. This is why healing requires more than intellectual insight. It requires embodied practice, gentle, consistent experiences of safety, not forced, not hacked, not bypassed, but cultivated, over time, with tenderness. You begin to rewire your reality not through dramatic transformation, but through micro moments of safety. A slow breath when panic arises, a kind word to yourself when shame shows up, a boundary held with trembling hands, a quiet pause before reacting. These moments seem small, but they are revolutionary. They are how your nervous system learns to trust. They are how your body learns to stop bracing. They are how your life begins to shift from the inside out. Because when your nervous system feels safe, your energy becomes clear. And when your energy is clear, you become a match for the life you were always meant to live. Once your nervous system begins to feel safe, something incredible starts to happen. Desire awakens. Not the frantic, compulsive kind of desire that's driven by urgency or comparison, but the soul-deep, heart-centered knowing that you were made for more. Real desire, the kind that fuels manifestation, is not chaotic or noisy. It's precise, it's sacred, and it cannot take root in a body that is constantly scanning for danger. This is where many people misunderstand manifestation. They chase outcomes. They obsess over vision boards and timelines. They treat manifestation like a shopping list for the universe. But the truth is, desire is not about getting more. It's about remembering who you are. And to remember who you are, you need to feel safe enough to listen, safe enough to slow down, safe enough to want what you truly want without guilt, fear, or shame. Here's the paradox. Manifestation requires both energy and surrender, both clarity and softness, and your nervous system is the bridge between those poles. When dysregulated, you may oscillate between hyperachievement, overdrive, and collapse, shutdown. You either push relentlessly or avoid everything. Neither state is fertile ground for authentic manifestation. But in a regulated state, you find the sweet spot, the place where effort feels like devotion and rest feels like wisdom. This is the foundation of embodied manifestation, living in a body that can hold the frequency of what you're calling in, not just for a moment, but sustainably. Can your body hold success without self-sabotage? Can it hold visibility without panic? Can it hold intimacy without dissociation? These are nervous system questions, not mindset ones. Because manifestation doesn't ask, "Are you worthy?" It asks, "Are you ready to receive without collapsing, proving, or performing?" And the only way to truly become ready is to create internal safety. That looks like nervous system regulation. Yes, but it also looks like self-trust. Can you trust yourself to say yes to what you want and no to what you don't? Can you stay present when your desire arrives? Can you expand instead of constrict when the blessings come in? Regulation doesn't mean you never feel triggered. It means you stop abandoning yourself when you are. It means you know how to come back. Back to your breath. Back to your truth. Back to the version of you who knows you're allowed to want more, not because you're ungrateful, but because your soul is evolving. And manifestation is just the external reflection of that inner expansion. In other words, when your nervous system heals, your entire life becomes more receptive. Not just to abundance, but to joy, connection, intimacy, peace. All the things you thought were outside of you begin to rise from within you. And that's when manifestation becomes less about effort and more about embodiment. Receiving is an embodied state. It's not just something you do, it's something your entire being must allow. But if your nervous system has been conditioned by chronic stress, trauma, or scarcity, then allowing can feel like exposure. It can feel like danger. And this is where many people unconsciously repel what they desire because their body is bracing for pain, even when pleasure is at the door. Think about this. How many times have you said you wanted something, only to feel tension, fear, or contraction the moment it got close? That promotion, that partner, that opportunity, it starts to arrive and suddenly you get sick, sabotage the timing, doubt your worth, or overcompensate. This isn't because you're weak or broken, it's because your body hasn't yet learned how to feel safe in receiving. Here's the biology. The sympathetic nervous system governs your fight or flight response. When it's chronically activated, your body stays in a loop of hypervigilance. You're scanning for problems, anticipating betrayal, preparing for disappointment. Even when there's no real threat, your system doesn't register safety. And manifestation doesn't thrive in this energy, it withers. Because the frequency you emit while in survival mode isn't magnetism, it's resistance. On the other hand, the parasympathetic system, the one that supports rest, digestion, and connection, activates when your body believes it is safe. When this system is engaged, your heart rate slows, your digestion improves, your breath deepens, and energetically, your body becomes receptive. You move from tension to openness, from fear to flow, from clenching to softening, and this softening is where miracles land. Manifestation isn't about bypassing your nervous system, it's about partnering with it, co-regulating with the universe, teaching your body that it's okay to feel good, that joy doesn't have to be followed by punishment, that expansion doesn't mean exile. When you've lived for years in contraction, receiving can feel like a foreign language. But with time and nervous system safety, you learn to speak that language fluently again. This is the missing link in most manifestation teachings. You can visualize and affirm all day, but if your body is locked in a state of fear or overdrive, it won't let the good stuff in. Not because it's sabotaging you on purpose, but because it believes it's protecting you. So the work becomes this. How do you teach your body that it's safe to receive? You start small. You notice the moments when you deflect compliments, avoid rest, or downplay your achievements. You pause. You breathe. You let the energy land instead of swatting it away. You whisper to your body, "We can let this in. We're safe now." And over time, your system learns. It learns that rest is not laziness, that receiving is not weakness, that abundance is not a threat. It's your nature. This is where manifestation shifts from mental work to nervous system work, from effort to embodiment, from hustle to harmony. Manifestation often gets misrepresented as a game of positive thinking or a trick of energetic manipulation. Just think good thoughts and good things come. But the truth runs deeper. If your body is stuck in a survival loop, even the most beautiful affirmations feel like lies. If your nervous system is wired for threat, your dreams can feel like threats too. Survival mode is not just a mental state, it's a full-body experience. It shows up in the shallow breath, the clenched jaw, the constant need to control outcomes. It's the part of you that scans every conversation for signs of rejection, checks your phone obsessively, or procrastinates on pursuing what you truly want. Why? Because your body is bracing for danger even if the danger doesn't exist. This is the paradox. You want to expand, but your system is contracting. You want to receive, but your body is gripping. You want love, success, rest, but somewhere deep inside, you don't feel safe having them. That lack of safety becomes the dominant signal your energy emits, and it interferes with the frequency of what you're trying to attract. The nervous system cannot be bypassed. If you are manifesting from a state of fear, desperation, or chronic anxiety, then what you're really manifesting is more situations that match that state. That's why people who are burned out often attract more burnout. People who feel unworthy keep attracting people and situations that affirm that belief. The outer world is reflecting the inner frequency, especially the one you're not aware of. This is not about blaming yourself, it's about reclaiming your power. When you understand that your nervous system has been doing its best to protect you, you stop fighting against it. You stop judging your blocks as personal failures. You begin to meet your fear with compassion. You begin to listen instead of override. Because the truth is, the most powerful way to shift your vibration is not to push yourself into positivity, but to ground yourself in safety. Safety is what allows your energy to rise. Safety is what allows you to dream without flinching, to show up without shrinking, to receive without guilt. It's not just a soft buzzword, it's the soil in which all sustainable manifestation grows. When your nervous system begins to trust that you are no longer in danger physically, emotionally, or spiritually, it lets down its guard. It begins to release the hypervigilance. It no longer filters life through a lens of threat. And in that spaciousness, something beautiful happens. You become a match for what you desire, not because you're thinking about it harder, but because your whole being is finally aligned with receiving it. So the next time you feel blocked, ask not, "What am I doing wrong?" but "What part of me still feels unsafe to receive this?" That's where the real manifestation work begins. Behind every blocked desire, there's often a wound. And behind every wound, there's often a protective pattern, one that was once necessary for survival. For many people, the inability to manifest a thriving reality is not due to a lack of clarity or effort, but rather an unconscious loyalty to patterns born from trauma. If you learned, for example, that being seen or taking up space led to punishment, shame, or rejection in your formative years, your system will associate visibility with danger, even if you now intellectually crave recognition, love, or success. If you grew up in an environment where money was a source of chaos, conflict, or fear, your body may tense at the idea of receiving financial abundance. Not because you don't want it, but because some part of you doesn't feel safe with it. This is what trauma does. It doesn't just reside in memory, it embeds itself in the body. It becomes a frequency you emit even when your conscious mind is trying to attract the opposite. And until that trauma is acknowledged, felt, and metabolized through the body, not just the mind, it will continue to shape your reality, silently pulling the strings from behind the curtain. This is where somatic healing becomes essential, because healing isn't just about changing thoughts. It's about releasing the energy those thoughts are protecting. Your body remembers the times it didn't feel safe to rest. It remembers the times you had to smile through fear, accommodate to survive, hustle to be loved. And even now, as an adult with agency, your system might still be running on those outdated instructions. But here's the beautiful part. What was learned can be unlearned. What was once wired in can be rewired. Through nervous system regulation, somatic therapy, and intentional practices that restore a sense of safety in the body, you begin to dismantle those old survival codes. You show your system that it's safe to slow down, safe to feel, safe to receive, safe to be. As those protective layers begin to soften, your frequency shifts, not because you've forced it, but because you've freed it. Your desires no longer have to push through layers of fear to manifest. They begin to flow toward you, magnetized by the clarity of your healed energy. This is why inner healing is not a detour on the path of manifestation. It is the path. When you attend to your nervous system, you're not just soothing anxiety or calming your mind. You're rewriting the energetic code that determines what your life allows in. The universe isn't just responding to your vision board. It's responding to the energy you hold in your body when no one is watching. That's where your power lives. As you begin to build a regulated nervous system, you'll start to notice changes not only in how you feel, but in how life responds to you. The feeling of always being behind, the urgency to make things happen, the exhaustion from doing too much, all of it begins to subside. Not because life gets easier, but because your body is no longer interpreting life as a constant emergency. When your nervous system is in a regulated state, balanced between sympathetic activation, doing, and parasympathetic restoration, being, you have access to something many people spend their lives chasing: presence. And presence is a magnetic force. It allows you to make decisions not from fear or force, but from clarity. It allows you to discern opportunities with intuition instead of insecurity. It allows you to align your actions with your energy instead of your anxiety. This is why so many manifestation teachings fall short. They bypass the body. They assume that changing thoughts or visualizing outcomes is enough to shift your reality. But what if your body still feels unsafe with receiving? What if your system still associates expansion with overwhelm, or love with abandonment, or money with loss? No amount of mindset work can override a dysregulated nervous system. You might say the affirmations, write the intentions, visualize the goals, but if your body is still bracing for threat, you'll unconsciously repel the very things you desire. You'll sabotage opportunities. You'll downplay your needs. You'll settle for less. Not because you're broken, but because your system has equated safety with self-abandonment. That's why nervous system healing is the missing key to manifestation. It allows your body to become a safe home for the life you're calling in. It creates an internal environment where receiving feels natural, not dangerous. Where success feels spacious, not overwhelming. Where love feels nourishing, not threatening. When your body feels safe, your energy becomes stable. And when your energy becomes stable, the frequency you emit is no longer chaotic, desperate, or conflicted. It's coherent, it's clear, it's grounded. And that kind of energy is what the universe responds to because it signals readiness. Not performative readiness, but embodied readiness. This is the power of nervous system work. It doesn't just heal your past, it prepares your body to hold the future you've been dreaming of. It clears the static so that your signal becomes unmistakable. It helps you stop chasing and start allowing. And perhaps most profoundly, it brings you home to yourself, not as a concept, but as a felt reality. Because the real prize of healing isn't just manifestation, it's embodiment. It's being able to live in your body without bracing. It's being able to trust your sensations. It's being able to stay with yourself no matter what. When we talk about embodiment, we're talking about more than posture or breathing deeply. We're talking about inhabiting your body as your first home, the place where your truth lives, the place where your energy is felt before it is spoken. A body that is safe enough to feel, not just think, not just process, but feel. This is critical for manifestation because you don't manifest what you think you want. You manifest what you are energetically available for. If your body has become a place of tension, shutdown, or hypervigilance, then what it sends out into the field isn't just the thoughts you speak, it's the energetic imprint beneath those thoughts. Think of it this way. A person can say, "I am open to love," but if their body is locked in protection mode, their energy says, "Love is not safe." A person can affirm, "I am wealthy," but if their nervous system associates money with instability or shame, their energy says, "Abundance will overwhelm me." That's why so many people feel like they're doing the right things, visualizing, scripting, aligning, but nothing's changing, because the body hasn't been brought on board. Healing the nervous system is what brings the body back into the equation. It lets you integrate your desires, not just mentally, but somatically. Your manifestations start to root in your tissues. You begin to feel worthy in your skin. You begin to breathe into your enoughness. You start to act not from fear or compensation, but from truth. This is where coherence happens. Not just coherence of thought, but coherence between mind, body, and energy. And coherence is the signal the universe can't ignore. It's the difference between static and song, between confusion and clarity, between begging for your reality to change and being a clear vessel through which change happens. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You just have to be congruent. You just have to be willing to be honest with yourself, with your patterns, with your needs. You just have to stop abandoning your body every time discomfort arises, and instead learn to stay, to breathe, to regulate, to return. And in that returning, your whole life begins to shift. You stop negotiating your desires down to what feels realistic. You stop settling for crumbs in relationships because you can finally feel when your nervous system is contracting. You stop working against your own energy by chasing things that aren't meant for you. You begin to create from alignment, from sufficiency, from an inner space that's no longer ruled by fear, but guided by resonance. This is the edge most manifestation teachings skip. But this is where the magic is. Not in bypassing the body, but in bringing it home. Because when your nervous system becomes a sanctuary, manifestation is no longer something you try to force, it's something you naturally allow. One of the most misunderstood aspects of the nervous system is how deeply it governs our ability to regulate emotions, and how that emotional regulation directly affects our energetic signal. When your emotions are dysregulated, you're like a radio antenna bouncing across frequencies. You're angry, then apologetic, hopeful, then disillusioned, empowered, then self-doubting. This creates energetic incoherence, and the universe doesn't respond to incoherence with clarity. But when your nervous system is regulated, your emotional waves still move, but they move through you, not over you. You no longer get swept into panic at every trigger. You no longer spiral into self-sabotage when discomfort appears. Instead, you meet your emotions with presence, with curiosity, with breath. And that ability to stay with yourself, to not abandon your energy when it's uncomfortable, is what magnetizes your desires. Regulated people are magnetic people, not because they're always calm or composed, but because they carry an inner stability that doesn't collapse under pressure. Their nervous system is not seeking safety from the outside, so they're not energetically chasing approval, attention, or validation. They're not gripping onto people, outcomes, or timelines. They're relaxed in their own being, and that relaxation sends a signal. I am safe, I am rooted, I am open. And it's from this space that your manifestations have room to land. The things you want cannot reach you if your energy is too chaotic to hold them. It's not about being emotionless or perfect, it's about being steady. Manifestation is less about how high you can vibe and more about how deeply you can hold the frequency of what you say you want. For example, if you're calling in love, but every time vulnerability arises, your body shuts down, your nervous system is broadcasting connection equals threat. If you want to grow your business, but your body goes into freeze every time you post online or show up, the signal is visibility is dangerous. But when you regulate your system, when you show your body that vulnerability is survivable, that visibility is safe, your entire field shifts. You become the person who can actually hold the love, the clients, the money, the opportunities. The nervous system isn't the enemy of manifestation, it's the gatekeeper. It asks you, can you hold what you're asking for? And if the answer is no, it's not because you're broken, it's because your system is wise. It will not allow in what it believes will harm you. So your work isn't to force or bypass, it's to regulate, to co-regulate with safe people, to self-soothe with breath and presence, to build the capacity to sit with more truth, more joy, more visibility without shutting down. This is how you expand your field, not by faking a higher frequency, but by becoming the kind of vessel that can actually hold one. True expansion doesn't begin with strategy, it begins with safety. You could have the perfect manifestation script, vision board, or abundance plan, but if your nervous system doesn't feel safe receiving or holding more, it will quietly sabotage the process. Not out of spite, but out of protection. This is why healing is not a distraction from manifestation, it is the foundation. Safety is not a mental concept, it's a physiological state. It's what allows your heart to stay open even when uncertainty arises. It's what keeps your breath steady in conversations where the old you might have panicked. It's the felt sense that says, I can hold this. I don't have to run, numb, or fix. When you're rooted in internal safety, everything changes. You don't chase outcomes anymore. You don't perform for approval. You don't manipulate your timeline to force results. You become receptive, patient, clear. Your energy no longer demands, it invites. And this invitation is powerful not because it shouts, but because it vibrates with truth. You begin to realize that alignment isn't something you think your way into. It's something you feel your way into. You know you're aligned when your body doesn't feel like it's bracing for impact. When your decisions come from clarity instead of panic. When your yes and your no both feel like acts of self-respect. This is what most manifestation teachings miss. They focus on thoughts and affirmations, but skip the body. But your body is where your frequency lives. Your heart rate, your breath pattern, your muscle tension, these all tell the universe what you believe is safe to receive. If your body is in a constant state of stress, then it's sending a signal that life is a threat, and the universe responds accordingly. This doesn't mean you have to be perfectly calm or regulated all the time. It means you begin to treat your body as the instrument of manifestation. You tend to it, you listen to it, you repair your relationship with it. You recognize when you're stuck in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and instead of shaming yourself, you soften. You bring presence. You offer safety where there once was survival. And here's what's miraculous. The moment your body begins to believe that it's safe to slow down, to take up space, to express its truth, your field expands. Opportunities begin to arrive not because you're chasing them, but because your nervous system can finally recognize them as safe to receive. This is what it means to be energetically available. Not just willing, not just wanting, but regulated enough to hold what's on its way. This is where real manifestation happens. Not from your mouth, but from your body. Not from what you say you want, but from what your nervous system feels safe to allow. As your nervous system softens into safety, something else begins to awaken. Your receptivity. Not passive waiting, but embodied readiness. The kind of receptivity that says, I no longer need to beg for what I deserve. I simply open and receive it. This frequency is magnetic, not performative. It's not about becoming louder, faster, or more convincing. It's about becoming more honest in your energy. When you are regulated, you stop signaling scarcity through your behaviors. You stop chasing opportunities, clients, partners, or praise. You no longer over-explain your worth or push past your limits to prove you deserve abundance. You stop leaking energy through people-pleasing and start conserving it in self-honoring. From this place, your desires don't feel like demands. They feel like natural expressions of who you are. They're no longer drenched in desperation or masked in fear. They're clean, clear, intentional. And because they're no longer rooted in survival, they don't trigger sabotage. Your body doesn't clench in resistance when the good finally arrives. It receives, it holds, it believes. This kind of embodiment takes practice, because when you've lived in chronic stress or overachievement for years, stillness can feel threatening. Receiving can feel unsafe. You may find yourself holding your breath the moment things go well, waiting for it all to collapse. That's not failure. It's a nervous system still learning safety. So you breathe again. You remind your body, it's okay to receive without repayment. It's safe to be seen. It's safe to soften. And each time you do, you anchor your frequency deeper into receptivity. This is where you begin to work with the universe rather than against it. You don't just say affirmations, you live them. You don't just visualize abundance, you become a vessel that can hold it. The old energy of hustling for love, chasing for validation, striving for approval falls away. Not because you stopped caring, but because you started trusting. And trust is the root of all manifestation. Trust that your needs are not too much, that your desires are not selfish, that your worth is not conditional. Trust that what is meant for you does not require you to abandon yourself to earn it. That trust lives in the body. It's felt. It's anchored. It's what allows you to say yes without overfunctioning and no without self-betrayal. You realize now that manifestation isn't about what you want, it's about what you're ready to hold. And that readiness isn't built in your mind. It's built in your nervous system. The most overlooked aspect of manifestation is not mindset, it's embodiment. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are an energetic match for. That means your thoughts, yes, but also your beliefs, your emotions, your behaviors, and most importantly, your baseline nervous system state. If your body is locked in survival, you can recite every affirmation in the world and still resist receiving. Not because you're broken, but because your system is protecting you. It remembers the pain of loss, betrayal, instability. It remembers the chaos that followed vulnerability. So it armors up even against joy. Becoming the match means gently teaching your body that it is safe to feel good, safe to rest, safe to expand, safe to want, safe to express. Not by force, but by evidence. You regulate in real time. You take a breath before reacting. You pause before overgiving. You choose stillness even when your impulse is to fix, to hustle, to earn. And over time, your nervous system begins to trust the new story. That new story says, I am no longer available for self-abandonment. I'm no longer outsourcing my worth. I'm no longer pretending to be small just to feel safe. I'm no longer making others' comfort more important than my own peace. This is where manifestation becomes magnetic, because people, opportunities, and resources are drawn to coherence. And coherence is the result of alignment when your energy, values, words, and actions are all telling the same story. When your yes is clean, when your no is clear, when your boundaries are firm and your heart is soft. It's not about perfection, it's about presence. Embodied presence, the kind that says, I trust myself to navigate whatever comes. That trust is felt. Others can sense it even if they can't name it. It's in your eye contact, your posture, your tone. It's in the way you honor your time and don't chase what isn't aligned. It's in the way you celebrate others without betraying your own dreams. And that energy, it's magnetic, because it's rare, because it's real. You become the match not by striving harder, but by settling deeper, into your body, into your truth, into your wholeness. You stop asking, how do I get there? And start asking, what am I holding in here? Because manifestation doesn't start on a vision board, it starts in your cells. And when your cells are regulated, when your breath is deep, when your boundaries are held with love, and your joy is no longer suppressed to make others comfortable, you become undeniable. You don't need to chase, you don't need to prove, you simply radiate, and the universe can't help but respond. There's a reason so many manifestation practices fall flat. They're often rooted in urgency, in hustle, in the subtle belief that we must earn our desires. Even spiritual language can be co-opted into productivity culture, high vibes only, align and grind, manifest faster. But manifestation is not a race, it is not a hustle. It is a return to harmony, to resonance, to your natural rhythm, The one that got buried under years of conditioning that told you rest was lazy, pleasure was dangerous, and stillness was unproductive. Healing your nervous system is not about removing all stress from your life. It's about increasing your capacity to hold sensation, to feel it, move through it. Stay rooted in your body without abandoning yourself when discomfort rises. That capacity is what creates safety. And safety is the soil where all true manifestation grows. Because when you are safe within yourself, you make different choices. You stop settling for crumbs because you believe the feast is on its way. You stop saying yes to misaligned things just to feel busy, worthy, productive. You stop outsourcing your timeline to urgency and begin honoring divine timing instead. This doesn't mean you stop taking action. It means your actions are infused with clarity, not anxiety. You don't build your life to prove your worth, you build it to reflect your truth. You don't chase outcomes, you cultivate resonance. You become so rooted in who you are, what you value, and how you desire to feel, that what's meant for you has no choice but to arrive. Not out of force, but from frequency. And frequency is not a trick. It's not about pretending to be grateful when you're grieving. It's not about bypassing your pain to get to the good stuff. It's about integration, owning the full range of your humanity and choosing to be with it all. That's what builds coherence. And coherence is what the universe responds to, not your performance, but your truth. When you shift from hustle to harmony, your entire ecosystem changes. Your calendar becomes a reflection of your values. Your relationships feel safer, not because conflict disappears, but because connection deepens. Your creativity flows, not because you're trying to monetize every idea, but because you're tapped into a sustainable source of inspiration. Your own regulated, rooted energy. You begin to build a life that feels good to live, not just one that looks good from the outside. And that's what manifestation truly is. The art of bringing your inner reality into form, not by bypassing the nervous system, but by listening to it. Not by overriding your body, but by coming home to it. Not by forcing your way forward, but by allowing your alignment to lead. When you no longer rely on fear, urgency, or performance to guide your decisions, you begin to awaken an ancient, trustworthy force within you, your inner compass. It's the part of you that already knows, the part that existed before you were taught to doubt, to second guess, to delay your intuition in favor of logic or approval. This compass lives in your body, in your gut instincts, your subtle somatic cues, the small nudges you feel before your mind tries to talk you out of them. But for most people, those signals get overridden again and again until they barely register. A dysregulated nervous system will always prioritize survival over truth, comfort over coherence, noise over nuance. But when you heal, when you regulate, something begins to shift. You start to hear again. You start to feel again. You begin to notice the difference between expansion and contraction, between people who nourish and people who drain, between opportunities that are aligned and those that are just distractions dressed as gold. You begin to trust the pauses. You no longer need to fill every silence with answers or activity. You allow space to do its work. You let life reveal itself, moment by moment, without needing to control every outcome. And ironically, it's in that space, free from grasping, that the most meaningful manifestations start to arrive. Opportunities that once eluded you begin to knock. Connections that feel like déjà vu enter your field. You find yourself more magnetic, more creative, more anchored. And it's not because you finally got it right. It's because you stopped abandoning yourself. You stopped leaking your energy into roles, masks, and stories that weren't yours. This is what nervous system healing looks like in real life. Not just calm, but clarity. Not just less anxiety, but more alignment. You feel safe enough to follow your knowing. You stop waiting for proof and start honoring resonance. You begin to walk in the direction of your desires, not with desperation, but with devotion. Because here's the truth, the path to what you want isn't paved with punishment. It's paved with presence. You don't need to hustle harder. You need to come closer. Closer to your body. Closer to your breath. Closer to the wisdom that was never gone, only buried beneath layers of noise and numbness. And as you walk that path, you begin to realize that healing your nervous system wasn't a detour from your dreams, it was the doorway all along. As your nervous system heals, you don't just manifest faster, you manifest cleaner. You stop attracting from wounds, from voids, from the frantic belief that something out there will finally fix the ache inside. Instead, you manifest from wholeness, from worthiness, from stillness, and what you attract in that state stays. Because what's born from fear must be fed by fear. But what's birthed from safety sustains itself. It doesn't require performance or perfection. It thrives in peace. It deepens over time. And this is the kind of life that nervous system healing makes possible. Not just one that looks good on paper, but one that feels good in your body. A life where joy doesn't feel foreign, where success doesn't trigger sabotage, where rest doesn't breed guilt, where connection doesn't cost your authenticity. You stop needing to chase what's meant for you. You start becoming it. You become a match for the love you've been waiting for by loving yourself in real, tangible ways. By keeping your own word, by showing up for your needs, by honoring your boundaries without apology. You become a match for the abundance you've been visualizing by regulating your body to receive it, by believing you're safe to hold more, by releasing scarcity not just in mindset, but in nervous system patterning. You become a match for the freedom you crave, not by burning bridges, but by building inner safety, by creating a life that fits you, not a version of you designed to keep others comfortable. This is the final truth that nervous system healing reveals. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest who you are. And when who you are is calm, clear, anchored, and alive, your reality shifts to mirror that. Your manifestations don't arrive as frantic tests or fleeting highs. They arrive as natural extensions of your truth. They arrive without the need to prove, perform, or push. They arrive because you did the sacred, quiet work of returning to yourself. So if you've been wondering why the affirmations haven't worked, why the vision boards haven't landed, why the aligned action still feels misaligned, it might not be your mindset. It might be your nervous system. And if that's the case, don't despair. Don't give up on your dreams. Come home, regulate, rest, breathe, reconnect, rebuild. The life you want isn't beyond you, it's within you. Waiting, quiet, steady, ready. And the moment you feel safe enough to stop running, it meets you there.